Hello, everybody. Fisherman here. We're back at Rose Lake Park. We're once again visiting the 1939 map. This is part 2 of episode 5, and we're going to take a look at some of the things we did not have time to look at with the last video. So I'm joined today by 3 friends, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, this is JP.
Hi, this is MattDownes.
Howdy, this is Wolf Tenor.
We've got a lot to cover today. And as you notice here, we're looking at the trolley station that was added, I believe, on the 1920s map. So we're going to start here because there's a couple of things that we want to show off right off the bat here at the front of the park. And I'm going to let Matt do some talking here because he's built quite a few vehicles for us this time around. So last time we talked about the boat and the boathouse. We focused on those things that he built for us. And we have some land vehicles this time that he's made for us. So we're going to look right here at this one right up here at the front of the park. So Matt, why don't you get us started with this one? What do we have here? What was the inspiration for this thing here?
Yeah, so on the last map, I wasn't kind of really involved with the team, but I had built the trolley that you had sat here, and it was an open trolley, kind of a scratch built. It wasn't really built off of anything. This time round, I did actually take some inspiration. So I looked at it was West Penn Railways 832. In fact, this particular trolley does say 832 on the side of it, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And that's what I took the inspiration from, and that's at the Pennsylvania Trolley Museum at the moment. So it is preserved, the trolley that I based this off of, and that was built by the Cincinnati Car Company in 1929. So it's kind of perfect kind of age. We wanted something a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more modern, just a bit of an update to the trolleys. So this was what I came up with. The piece count's a little high, but you may have noticed there's just stupid details we didn't need, like the windows are half open and different places along it. You've got all the trolley poles, the little hooks there for the trolley poles. You've got the rails above the doors that stop the rain dropping on people. And we've actually got, so this one's in the station here, so the doors are open, but some of the ones further down the track have got closed doors as they're moving along. So again, that was all kinds of additional pieces that got added just to make opening doors just for the one in the station.
I'm going to go inside this one at the station because there's some details inside that are amazing. This is crazy cool. So you've got like the air conditioning vents at the top. Did they have air conditioning in the 30s inside trolley cars?
Yeah, I don't think they had air conditioning, but they did have sort of ventilation and things. They probably had fans underneath those panels, just a bit of ventilation, and the light bulbs along there. The seats, I made. Oh god, you guys, I apologize. You got sent so many different variations on trolley seating when I was making these. I think I made some that I was really proud of at one point, and then we looked at the parts count, and once you've duplicated that all the way along the trolley, it just got ridiculous. So these were a sort of simplified design, but I'm pretty pleased with the finished result on that. There's not too many pieces, so that's using like the folded towels from the workshop for the seat. And then I think it's lamp arms, make those kind of curved bits around on the base. There's the clocks back to back that make the kind of the mechanism that the seats sit in, and obviously Hydro's gate handles on the top there, because the seats in these they'd pull backwards and forwards. So when you're going in the other direction, you'd flip all the seats back the other way, so you're facing the direction of travel.
Right, and I was going to talk about that. So these trolley cars on the one-way track like this, I think aren't these the first ones where we actually have a pole at both ends? I think, or did the last one have a pole at both ends? Try to think.
Oh, I think you're right. I think the other ones had like a longer pole in the center.
And it was the kind where they had to pull down on it and swing it around to the other side.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas these have the pole at each end. They're slightly longer cars as well, so it kind of makes more practical sense to have a pole at each end, I guess.
Right, and we have one on the switch track here.
Yeah, I think there's 4 in total, possibly. The ones on the track have got, perhaps it's 3. The ones out on the rest of the track, the doors are closed, as I was saying before. But they've also, because I'm sad with these sorts of things, I made sure they all had different numbers. The trolley poles are up at the right ends, the drivers sat at the right end, that sort of thing when I put them all in.
Still using the same sound effect from before, though. But yeah, that's another thing. If you get the part, guys, make sure you get all the sound effects, because we do have sound effects. I think I had to widen the bridge for the last trolley car. I don't think I did it for this one.
I think you did it for the previous trolley. This one I think is actually slightly slimmer. I'm happy with the scale of these as well. I feel like the last few that I built were perhaps just slightly over scale, and these fit really nicely. So I was pretty pleased with the result on that.
It's kind of cool, the story of how you kind of joined the team, because I had seen your stuff on the workshop and you had seen our stuff on the workshop, and you kind of just started building stuff, and you're like, hey, I'm building this stuff. Can I use, Rose Lake Park, use the name Rose Lake Park in my trolleys and all this stuff? And we were just talking, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. And it was just sort of this tribute to the park. And I'm like, why don't you just start making us stuff? And then you're like, oh, okay. And then we just added you to the team. We're like, well, just join the team. There's no reason why you shouldn't be, a permanent part of the team, because we were just in love with the stuff you were building already. The parks you were putting together on your own were just crazy cool. It was like little miniature train sets that I had when I was a kid, and it was amazing stuff. So I am thrilled that you're a part of the team building stuff for our park. Absolutely breathtaking stuff.
I'm very pleased to be doing it, but it all came down to that trolley pole on the top there. That's what kind of started the conversations, wasn't it? Because I reached out to you about the original trolley that you'd built for Rose Lake Park. So I'd kind of built a trolley, but I was really struggling with the pole on the top, and like you'd done the springs on the back of it, and I just don't know how you built it. I'm struggling to find the right parts to do it. So that's kind of where all the conversations started, was asking like how do I do this pole on the top, and that it all stems from there.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah.
And Wolf Tenor built us this amazing trolley station that will somehow stay. We've got to keep this. I don't know, it's going to turn into some sort of parking lot building or something at some point, but or maybe it'll be part of the museum or something, but we'll have to keep the structure here because it's absolutely beautiful. But yeah, this is crazy cool. Okay, so right here next to the trolley station, we've got the all new fancy schmancy bus stop. So the park wasn't only accessible, it was accessible by automobile before, but now public transportation is, evolving. So now we have, besides the trolley car, let's look down the street here, because there's one down the street here. We've got city buses coming all the way from Peepsburg, right? I think this is from Peepsburg.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to think how many I put in. I think there's two. So I think there's this one that's on the road coming into the park. So the destination on the front of that says Rose Lake Park or Rose Lake, okay. And there's another one up by the ballroom. So there's a second bus stop up by the ballroom as well. And I have a feeling, that the front of that says Peepsburg. It's bringing people in from Peepsburg into the park. And these were based on Ford Transit buses, and they were around for quite a long time, I think, but around the sort of, I think it was about 1939, they switched over to this rear-engined design, which actually makes these buses pretty much brand new in this map. But that's what I based it off of. I think they were in quite a lot of places in the US. I don't think it's like one specific city or anything like that. There were quite a lot of them around. Again, you can see the folded towels there for the seats. I kind of leaned on a lot of the same sort of tricks and techniques and stuff that I learned building the trolleys. I applied a lot of the same to the buses that are coming in and out of the park.
So it looked like at night. I forgot to look at the trolley at night. I'll have to do that too.
Yeah, so I think it's got interior lighting. It's got the
right under our street lights.
Yeah, it'll have the rear lights on there as well. And like I said, there is one up by the ballroom as well. That's cool. Again, it's the same bus, but I'm sad, and the same as the trolleys. I think it's got a different number on it. The destination's changed. It's there.
Okay, we're all geeks around here. We do the same thing. It's beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Next on the list, we've got garbage trucks. Did we have one down here?
So there's one round by the gift shops, or there's one. That's the other one.
There's one here. We'll look at the one behind the gift shop when we get over to that side of the park. So you also made us some garbage trucks, and these are pretty accurate. You showed us the photographs for these too, the reference photos.
Yes, there's reference photos of these kicking around. They're based off of, I think it's pronounced Heil Collector Pack trucks. Now, Heil made this kind of back end that sits on it. So if you look for sort of reference photos of them, you'll see them on quite a few different kind of truck chassis underneath. But the collector pack is the kind of the rubbish collection, the garbage collection bit on the back. So the truck at the front is kind of scratch. It's based on a few different trucks, but the back bit is as close as I could get to the real thing. If you look at the reference images on Google and that sort of thing, there's I like to think I got pretty close with it. And the idea is, I mean, they tipped all the garbage into that kind of bit on the back there. That would tip up. It all goes into the back there, but it's one of the first, I believe it's one of the first garbage trucks that actually like compacted the waste so you could get more in there. And then when it got to the tip, to the dump, wherever you want to call it, the whole of the back of the truck would tip up and just it would all come out the back and into wherever you're getting rid of the waste.
I love all the details, like the shovel.
That was one of the reference images I saw. I think it was in Chicago somewhere, but there was one of these, and they had their shovel on like just hooked onto the back bit there, and I really liked it as a little detail, so I threw it in. Again, headlights and tail lights on there.
Very cool. So while we're here on the street, so one thing that we tend to do with each decade is update the billboards on the street, on the roads, and around the park. So we've added a few for the 1930s here. We try to pick some that are kind of silly or have puns in them or innuendos sometimes. So we have quite a few silly ones. But so if you get the part, guys, make sure that you download the billboard images that go with them. There's some pretty ridiculous ones in here. Sometimes I'll actually edit them to make them a little bit funnier. So look out for little puns. This was around the time of the Great Depression, so I kind of added some grime and grunge to them for this decade. So they may look a little bit dirtier, grimier than what we normally have on display. The ones on the power station here are in disrepair. We have some, the old hotel billboard, and there's one from the previous decade that hasn't been replaced yet, things like that. But there's quite a few. So we've updated the Coca-Cola ads for the 1930s.
So that one that says "Squeeze Me."
Yes, squeeze me.
I've seen that earlier.
It's actually for oranges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, oranges and grapes.
I couldn't tell what she was squeezing.
We
I'm seeing a lot of this for the first time, so.
Okay, that's cool. And then, of course, our competition, Hershey Park, decided to put one of their billboards up for Hershey's Cocoa. But we have some custom billboards too. So there's a couple. There's one for the park itself that's new, and there's one for the cabins down the road here. What were you going to say?
Oh, it's just on the Hershey Park one. I say if they're willing to pay for the advertising space, I mean, we'll take the money. That's not a problem.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll help us build new rides and stuff. But yeah, there's some silly ones here. Like, what the heck? That was a real ad from the 1930s. The best things in life come in cellophane.
Oh my God.
I need to put a disclaimer on the video. Please don't ever put your baby in a plastic bag.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that.
No. Tell me you haven't done that yet. Probably does keep them quiet, but don't recommend it. But yeah, so we have lots of billboards all over, some custom ones. There's one advertising the ballroom over here. So quite a few. I'm not going to look at all of them. There's too many to look at. So let's look at the original kind of entrance plaza here. We've got some new things going on around here. So one billboard we added here, some swan mosaics that we put on both sides of the restroom and first aid building that we put there. I actually stole that image from wallpaper that I found online and just kind of added the mosaic effect to it. Don't tell anybody. Don't want to get in trouble. Don't think I would, but. And then, so down here, we're going to look at some things that we've updated and added fairly recently. So, Wolf Tenor, I'm going to let you talk about what we've done to the movie theater here, to the Odeon movie theater. So what do we have going on here? So it's 1930s. What happened at your theater here?
Well, 1939 was a big time, especially for MGM and movies in general. And there was probably a good dozen movies that became like top 10 hits. And one of them in 1939 was The Wizard of Oz. So of course, our park had to have the premiere in the area. And since it was a premiere, they were going to do it upgrade and added lighting to the building and a yellow brick road and all new posters to get people to come in. And there would have been then probably some pre-show, since that probably wouldn't have been able to afford to get Judy Garland to show up. But maybe a couple munchkins or something would have come would have showed up and did a little pre-show for everybody. But
Very cool.
but if you go inside, then all the posters then are updated for 1939 movies, and in perfect nerdy fashion. Even though they're months here, they're actually by date of when they were done, when they were first came out in the 1930s. But these
Cool.
were all some of the big top ones that were going on.
Oh boy! Of course we picked those.
Of course, we picked those.
Yeah, it's almost like we voted on those posters, isn't it?
Almost.
Almost like I was outvoted on those posters.
Boy. So we got the Wizard of Oz at the Odeon, among other movies. All right, so let's look down. Next door, we've updated some of at least one of the hats in the hat shop. So, oh boy.
Forgot about that.
We forgot about this. So one of the hats got updated. Wolf Tenor decided to make one even better. So one of the hats has bigger feathers on it. So we have the full peacock plumage on that hat there.
The squirrel is still my favorite, though.
Yeah, the squirrel hat was based on an actual photo that we found.
That's awesome.
Yep. All right. So moving on down this way here. Cool stuff going on. So, John, I'm going to let you talk about this.
So I didn't do a whole lot on this map. I think I was pretty active for the first couple maps, and then I just kind of loitered around your Discord server, bothering you guys all day for the last entire year. So Matt, what month did this happen that we expanded our Rose Lake family by one?
It was the 2nd of October 2020.
And we knew about this. We were looking forward to it, and the day that we had our first baby,
First Rose Lake baby.
I wanted to commemorate that. So I built Matt and his new daughter a cigar shop, because like you hand out cigars when you have a kid in stereotypes and all the things, and also because I like to smoke things. So I wanted to do
salmon, turkey,
to make Derek upset, because fisherman upset.
Oh,
As opposed to my habits.
yeah.
No interior, just a quick, and it looks like you guys, did you paint that after I gave it to you? Because it looks better than what I built.
I don't think so.
No, I don't. No, I didn't mess with it.
Uh-uh.
I don't remember doing anything good, so that's, wow. I'm impressed. It's okay.
And actually, my daughter's middle name is Rose. Definitely after the park. Nothing to do with family names or anything like that. So.
Of course not. Awesome.
I thought I put her first name on there somewhere, and
I think it might be on the lamppost, possibly. I think I might have spotted it on there. There's the signs, isn't there?
But there it is.
There it
Yeah.
is.
I knew I did that. Okay, cool.
Agnes
That's
Rose. There you
beautiful.
go.
That's the
It
sweetest
was.
thing.
I mean, it was. Yeah. I think it was the best gift I received when
That's
she was
sweet.
born. Well, other than her.
Other
Obviously.
than her.
And now he wraps her in cellophane, so.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
For
all the
safety
best things in life.
Boys and girls, do not wrap your little brothers and sisters in cellophane. Do not.
What about duct tape? Does that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that.
Just
Something.
I did tie my brother to a lamppost in Disneyland once, but
That does sound like something you would do.
he was trying to get away and it was annoying. So I just kind of,
All right. So, Matt. I totally forgot about the name of the bakery. My gosh.
Did you forget?
What is wrong with us? Are we 12?
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether the inspiration for the name came from it. It's just, I don't know. It came to me one day.
We'll have to ask Jeremy.
Our resident master baker.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
this is our bakery in Rose Lake. This actually stems as there's a vehicle behind the bakery.
Let's look at the truck first, because we should go in order. Truck came first.
The truck did come first. So this is based on Helm's Bakery. So they were sort of Los Angeles, Southern California, and sort of through the 30s, right through to I think it was nearly 1970. They were operating as a bakery. I think it was quite a big industrial kind of bakery. But they'd have these little trucks that went round. And it was like 8, whatever they had that day. And they were just these cool little trucks. And I thought I'd made it a bit small, but actually looking at photos of the real thing, they are tiny little trucks. So I've got a selection of breads and pastries and all. And I really, the Helms Bakery trucks caught my eye. I thought it was a cool little vehicle, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And this is what I came up with. And it got a silly name. I again don't know where that came from, or the slogan "By hand daily." I don't know where that came from either. But
Well, you mentioned
but
appropriate. I'm like, I don't know if it's appropriate, but maybe.
So yeah, that's what sort of started it. Was I built this truck, and then we were sort of debating what to do with it. You know, do we just pop some on the road, or what do we do? And we decided we were going to build the bakery. We identified this kind of patch of land, but it is a bit of an awkward space. So
it is.
It steps down the hill there. And then there's the extra steps that go down the front as well. And there's a little wooden ramp for the baker's bike, which is. It's a workshop. Well, it's workshop. It's TMTK the bike, but I added some bits to it to make it into the baker's bike, and that's just leaning on the railings out the front.
You know what?
So, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen the bike before.
I'm pretty sure I shared it when I built it. But
because
I'm an idiot.
I remember the bike being there.
Why do I not remember this?
Oh.
Yeah. The bike itself is TMTK, but then I added sort of like the baskets and the bit in the center there to kind of brand it as a master baker's bike, and that's why the little wooden ramps there is so that the baker's boy can get his bike out. But yeah, so the style of this was just inspired by the rest of the buildings along that stretch there. They're all in this kind of brick style, and obviously I went with the colours that matched what I'd done with the truck, which is the same colours as Helm's. That's kind of where I stole that from. And you've got the kind of the shop at the front. And then the actual bakery out the back. So I didn't do an interior in the bakery, but the sort of the shop and the office I did do the interiors for.
All right, let's go inside.
So this is inside our bakery. It's a bit tight. It's a strange kind of triangular space, but it works quite well. So there's some bits in the window and bits on the sides and the cakes on the counter and
nice buns and cakes.
The croissants came along whilst I was building this. I think they're artificial artists as well, but they just appeared on the workshop whilst I was building the bakery. It was fortuitous. So they ended up in there, and of course there's various signs as well that I think came from the workshop, and the till is like a Harry Potter one. I think like the cash register is. I think that's where that came from. That's a workshop item as well. But so I made the kind of the bakery shop itself, and then there's the sort of the big hatch behind. I figured would go through into the bakery itself, and then there's the sort of staff only door that leads
you actually
to.
Do have stairs.
Yeah. There's some stairs up, and they lead us into the office. So I figured this would be like a flagship kind of location for the bakery. So they might have like a bigger industrial bakery out of town, perhaps, but this is sort of like the flagship store. That's actually a picture of a real Helm's bakery truck up on the wall there. So that's what the truck out the back's based on. And I put a few other pictures on the other wall that are just generic kind of bakery pictures that I found. But there's there's a little seating area, a couple of desks for people. There's a safe tucked in one of the corners, I think. So it was the kind of the bakery office.
You fit a lot into that small space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's even got radiators.
It looks
They've
real,
got heating.
Yeah.
And that plot of land was awkward anyway because of how it sat on the edge of the hill and everything. So it amazes me how you got all of this in that little weird triangle space. It's just amazing.
He picked a space the rest of us were ignoring because we knew we couldn't fit anything there on that hill.
It's true. Because
he made it work.
I tried a couple maps before and I could never make it work. I was just like, oh, give it up.
I love the views from the office.
Yeah, they did all right there, didn't they? They kind of view out over the park. But yeah, that space, I mean, it was awkward, but they ended up with the triangular kind of shop and office, but that kind of, it actually works quite well. But then out the back is the bakery itself, and that's just like a big kind of rectangle off the back, because, they would have needed plenty of space to actually bake things, but the shop itself and the office didn't necessarily need to be as big.
So this whole little back wing here would be the bakery.
Yeah, so I added the kind of sort of ventilation bit across the top and a couple of chimneys, probably from the the big ovens. So a back door into the thing, and you've got big kind of loading door there as well for loading up the trucks every day.
Speaking of trucks, another thing that John built. Did you forget, John?
I totally forgot.
Totally forgot.
This was a while ago. I'm surprised it was on a previous map.
I'm pretty sure this
Yeah.
was the first thing that happened in this map.
Probably. I think it was. I
Okay.
think it actually was.
I think it was.
So the
I
back of
do
the hotel.
remember when we built the barn, which was
Mhm.
probably on the first map, but I always meant to get rid of the stables and put that garage extension on there. And I saw that in the picture, and I wish I could tell you where I saw it, but I tried to replicate what I saw in this similar hotel from that era. Had a garage like this off the barn, and I had this vision of how I'm gonna add on to the barn, and then I've got paint schemes in mind for future decades. You guys, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be fantastic. I had a quick 5-minute build, probably. I don't think I did anything on the inside. It was just like we needed to have it on this map, so people are driving now. And we
Yeah.
lost. There was horses there before, right? There was a pen.
Yes, there was a
Yes.
little. The pen's still
it's in
there.
the back.
Part of it is.
Oh.
Because we do still have some horses. We built a stable up by the back of the ballroom, and I think Wolf Tenor added some signs above it, kind of implying that some of the horses from the carriage rides and stuff will live up there. But we do still have stables down here as well. But yeah, I think the hardest part after we built the garage, the hardest part was getting the path to work right through here. It was
I
a
remember
pain
that.
because it's
It
not
was
flat.
planted when I built it. Like you
Mhm.
fixed something that I couldn't fix.
Yeah, and we ended up with holes, and we had to use little brick paver things to fill in the holes. But it looks great. I mean, it totally looks like it belongs as part of the barn. It's fantastic. I love the way the hotel turned out and the way we just kind of keep adding to it. Totally Cedar Point.
I'm just
Okay.
thinking back to the first map and how far apart everything seemed from each other, like that auditorium right there. And so much is filled in now that it's like this place is all connected. It's really kind of cool seeing it 40 years after the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Brings a tear to your eye. That's just allergies.
They
So
grow
here,
up so fast.
yes, they do. You just wait. Okay, so speaking of buses, so here's the other bus that Matt was talking about earlier.
Like I say,
Yes.
I'm sad, so I think it's got a different number. I think the
Yeah,
doors are
probably.
open. It's going to Petersburg, you know.
Petersburg.
Yeah, the doors are open. There you go. And I built the bus stops as well, and just that one kind of just connects round so that I put the path in and stuff so that people would be able to get off there and go to the balls.
Yeah, go to one of Wolf Tenor's balls.
Just the one.
Well, he had a couple. All right.
Not saying a word.
Okay, so this building up here used to be Wolf Tenor. So fill us in. What did this building used to be?
This
Long time ago.
a long time ago. This was the original Rose Lake Theater that the major built so that he could do his shows at the park. Because when one has an ego the size of his, one must have his own theater because nothing
It's
else would do.
huge.
Yeah.
But
and
of course, come 1920, it wasn't big enough because as they never are. So that's in the 1920s built the Rose Savoy Theater, which was much larger and much more elaborate and also had a bigger dressing room because it's all about the dressing rooms.
Exactly.
But so then this became a souvenir shop for a while until
now.
until we discovered something else.
Okay. And so JP, the building next door to it used to be something that you built 2 maps ago.
Yeah, last time I was in the park, that was a bar that I built for myself to drink, and then Prohibition must have happened, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So this was absinthe-minded bar?
The
right?
Absinthe-Minded
Saloon.
Saloon, and I didn't make that name up. I got it off the internet. So, Wolf Tenor, did you make the conversion to the soda fountain?
Yes.
Because this is beautiful. I love that you put my character's name across the front. That's awesome.
And
Oh, wow.
your picture's still inside.
I've forgotten all the work you did here. That's amazing.
And so part of the backstory was that...
Well, I still had to drink, right? So, and in the 20s, and I forget what we did on the previous map versus this one. So if I'm repeating, I apologize. But we had decided there was going to be a speakeasy secret room below the ice cream parlor.
Yes.
And they kept the trick eyes and the painting on the wall.
That's
on
right,
the door.
Okay. I do
So the
remember
door's
that
still
now.
there, and it's part of, if you ask the soda jerk, about it, they'll tell you the story. But yeah, so it's still there.
And it was a big hit. So at one point, I think we had to expand the speakeasy because, we had so much tourism that knew about it. How we didn't get busted, I have no idea. And I'll let you take it from that cue.
Okay, so it no longer says Rose Lake Theater. It no longer says Rose Lake Gifts on the little marquee out here in front. Now it says Rose Lake Caverns. The building, I'm going to change it to nighttime mode inside here. Just real quick. If you go inside now, what we did So part of the story is when they were building the speakeasy and they were expanding it, they were digging underneath and building on another room onto the speakeasy so that they could build a moonshine still. And I'm going to show you guys that room here in a bit. But in the process of adding on to that, they discovered an even larger cave system just beyond that. And when they went down inside, they discovered some enormous caverns that were full of beautiful, rock formations. And of course, the founders of the park, Fishington and the Major General, got the bright idea to start charging admission, a small amount at first, to help them kind of get out of the debt that they experienced from the Great Depression and the Rose Lake flood of 1935. And so the discovery of the cave system pretty much saved the park. So we're going to talk about right now the Cavern tour, and then this is the gift shop that, as all good attractions are, you always exit through the gift shop. And so we took this is the original theater space. We maintained a lot of the original structure. The space up here was the balcony for the theater. We lost the spiral staircase, and now we have a regular staircase. So I'm going to show you some of the details of the gift shop here in a second, but I wanted to show you what is going on in this room. There's Fishington's picture up there on the wall, but we've got the Rose Lake Caverns tour entrance embarks right out of the gift shop here, and then the exit, you come up into the gift shop here. So just, like in the Disney parks, exit through the gift shop, we had to do that. The way the tour actually leaves from the gift shop is inspired by a cave that I visited a couple of years ago in San Marcos, Texas, called Wonder Cave at Wonder World Park. And theirs is very similar to this. It's actually kind of a mirror image of this. They have a spiral staircase going through some glass doors right out of the gift shop. And so theirs is actually built in the middle of a suburban neighborhood. There's just this little one-story building in the middle of a neighborhood, and it just happens to have the entrance to a cave in it. It's kind of interesting. You would never even suspect that it's there, other than the little petting zoo off to the side. We'll talk about the exit after we look at the caves themselves. But I want to show you guys some of the details of the gift shop here. So we filled it with all sorts of little silly things and things that you might see in a 1930s gift shop. We have a lot of things that are inspired by the wildlife in the region here. So you see lots of taxidermy animals, some kind of bizarre ones that you wouldn't expect, like peacocks. Of course, we have peacocks on the property, so you can buy your very own taxidermy stuffed peacock. Here on the wall, you got a photograph from a hot air balloon of the property before they built. I guess this is probably when they were, looking at the lake before they ever built anything on the lake. We've got all kinds of things, lots of taxidermy animals on the wall, some ridiculous ones. We've got pigeons, we've got our famous jackalope here, peacock, horse, mule, bear, wolf, swan, crow, beaver. There's even a person up there. God.
See, that's what happens when you cross the Major General.
Exactly.
I was going to ask, is that supposed to be one of us?
Probably.
Presumably an ex-employee.
Exactly.
Exactly. The bison, the cow. The fish here was inspired by one of those talking trout or something, or singing trout or whatever that you can get.
Yes. Oh,
Big
the hell
mouth
would
Billy
that called?
Bass, isn't it?
Big mouth bass. Yes,
Big mouth bass. And then a bunch of silly things here, dogs and cats and things.
Well, and you realize too that you really shouldn't put a gun in the major's hand, because that's
Of
why you
course.
have dead cows, because he's shooting at something and then shoots the poor cow.
Exactly.
Because he doesn't have very good aim.
Yeah. But you can buy your own duck for your mantle. You can buy your own squirrel. I want to talk a little bit about CT25IND. He helped us out with this. His zoo park. If you've been following along his zoo project, he built a lot of really cool stuff for his gift shops. And so I had asked him to join us and build some stuff for Rose Lake Park. And so he built a bunch of these souvenir items that you see here for the Rose Lake Park Caverns gift shop. So all these items here, a lot of the geodes and rock formations and things that you can purchase and bring home. The little politically incorrect tomahawks and Native American drums and things. You can purchase those, bring those home. Polished rocks, things like that you would see back in the 1930s at a gift shop at a Caverns. When you get the park, guys, look around, look at all the details that we have here. There's some really cool stuff in here. Some silly stuff, like this ridiculous stuffed raccoon. Why would you have a trash panda in your, on display in your gift shop? I don't know. We got some pretty cool, silly displays here. We've got fossils from the cave, read all things there. There's some dead person they found with a beer bottle in his hand, probably somebody that got sealed up in the moonshine room. I don't know. Talk about bats and the blind cave fish. If you want to freeze the frame on the video here, make sure you read these. These are pretty silly. Some little custom write-ups about the fauna of the cave. And then we have, some more little displays here of the animals that you would see around Rose Lake. I think that's about it for the gift shop itself. So what I'm going to do for the cave tour itself, we've got a separate little tour video that kind of goes along with the cave. But I'm going to take you guys down into the cave through the entrance here. We're going to look at a few things, and then we're going to look at some of the details that I worked on, and JP and Matt. And then I'm going to edit in a full tour of the video with the narration into the video here. So
Pretty sure he's saying we can't go in. He's saying it's closed. So
you guys are VIPs. I'll bring you in. So you would go in through here. So this is sort of the kind of the pre-show area where you would hear the rules of the cave. So what I've done, if you get the park, guys, if you download the park, in each major room there's a plaque with a little write-up. If you click on the plaque, there's actually a display sequencer, and you can click play. Wolf Tenor, in case you didn't know, is an actor in real life. He's a theater actor, so he recorded a cave spiel for us for the entire cave. What I did is I chopped it up for each room. You can actually hear that part of the spiel for each room. So it's full of silly puns. So I'm just going to kind of show you how it works. I'll play the first one here for you guys.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to Rose Lake Caverns. Follow me and watch your
So
step.
basically in each room, you're going to have a little plaque like that on a wooden pole, and you can click on it and you'll hear something about the room you're in. So this is, the tour guide would talk to everybody on this little landing here before you guys go down into the cave, and then you go down to the cave. So I'm going to go down into this first little room. So lots of details. I sort of made the cave a little bit more modern than it would be in the 1930s, but that's okay. I mean, it's kind of built like a cave tour would be probably in the 70s or 80s. So when you're in this room, this is the room that actually has the moonshine still that they built. And if you look right here up this little tunnel, that actually leads to the space under the ice cream shop next door. So if I turn the flashlight on, that little doorway up there actually is under the floor of the ice cream shop, or
I
under
had
the
no
floor.
idea you did that.
Yeah, it's under the floor of the space under the ice cream shop. And because the ice cream shop has an actual working restaurant in it that the peeps can go inside, the restaurant blocks are right on top of that little doorway there. So that's where the speakeasy would have been. So it all actually fits. Everything fits. And so this room, also has one of the little plaques you can click on. So JP, you want to say anything about the moonshine still?
I will say I'm lucky that there were those tiny little pipes on the workshop when I built this. I might have looked at pictures, but don't study it too hard. It's not really. If we still had Bullethead helping us with this, he would have built an actual working moonshine still, and it probably would have made alcohol that we could have drank. He's amazing with machines and parts. I am not, and so I wanted to I'll put all the things there that make you think you know what you're looking at, and I put props in like bottles, and a thermometer I think is probably a good choice because it suggests that something's happening. But otherwise, yeah, it's just hopefully when you look at this, that's what it's supposed to be.
Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to Rose Lake Caverns, Plancovania's premier underground attraction. My name is Harry Basskraken. I will be your tour guide today. I would like to tell you our 2 safety rules. Number 1, you break it, you buy it. And number 2, no licking the rocks. They don't taste as good as they look. Follow me and watch your step. Have we lost anybody yet? The first thing we come to in this room is not a rock at all. It's a still for making moonshine. Seems the past owner of the saloon next door found the entrance to this part of the cave. You can see their original tunnel from it right up there behind that gate. They set up their illegal brewery here. After Prohibition, the still was abandoned, and the rest of the cavern explored by our own Mr. Fishington. With his partner, the Major General, he recorded and named the formations you will see today. Next up, we call this the Moon Pool Room. Excuse me, sir. There's no swimming here. It's not that kind of a moon. The formations you see above you are called stalactites, while the ones on the floor are stalagmites. Remember that. There will be a quiz later. Up over here, we call this the ice cream cone. Remember what I said about licking the rocks? That ain't icing, folks. All right, everyone follow me. Down these steps is the formation we call the Bear, named after one of our original founders of Rose Lake, Washington Brewer. Okay, gather around, folks. Y'all still with me? Raise your hand if you aren't with me. Okay, good. Here's the chapeau. That's French for hat, named for our own J.P. Marvel, millinery man extraordinaire. The saying goes, a Marvel topper is always a showstopper. His hat emporium is just next door. Be sure to check it out before you leave today. You can't leave home with a naked dome. Now watch your head, your steps, and follow me this way. Our next room has 3 formations. Over on your right, forming an archway over the path is the Mustache, named in honor of our fearless co-founder, Major General Stanley Wolf's famous facial hair. It's rumored to be insured for millions. You may have seen him in a production or 2, or 3, of the Gilbert and Sullivan classic, The Pirates of Penzance. He appears in repertory at our own Rose Savoy Theater. Get your tickets pronto as they sell out fast, as the tongue-tied lyrics he can sing faster than anyone I know. To your left and center are the aubergine and the cranny. Our cavern bat population accesses our cave through the cranny. If you look above the aubergine, you can see all 7 of our bats sleeping. So keep quiet as not to disturb them, as they can get excited and swoop out, cover the aubergine in white guano. It's not for the faint of heart, folks. At this point in the tour, we are going to demonstrate the absolute utter darkness of the cavern. I will now turn off the lights for a few moments. If the hand you feel on your tush is not your partner's, you've made a new friend. Hands back in your pockets, folks. We're turning the lights on. Follow me under the stash and down to the next landing. Everyone gather around. We call this the wishing well. As we make our way around the circular stairs, please do not drop coins or small children into the well, as it scares the cave spirits and they tend to spit them out. The kids, not the coins. Follow me down this way to our next room. is the Holiday Spirit Room, which is different from the Cave Spirit. The center formation is called the Christmas Tree. Underneath are gifts to the kiddos, a giraffe on the left and a drum set on the right, in honor of our patrons Thornton and Downtown, respectively. Follow me this way, but watch your step. Can't tell you that too many times. Haven't lost a guest yet, but there's always the first time. The dining room. We have the hamburger, fried eggs, and french fries. And up above, across the ceiling, are tiny hollow stalactites called soda straws. Perfect for washing down all that food. I always get hungry after a tour, so a stop at one of our world-famous restaurants is a must. Be sure to make reservations as they fill up quickly. I recommend Von Steuben's for elegant lakeside dining, or the Rusty Horseshoe for a well-grilled steak. Over to your left is the fire hydrant, in honor of our brave volunteer brigade who saved Rose Lake Park from certain destruction 11 years back, and our own Arte de Taro. Most of his ex-wives found him too hot to handle. Last up on the tour is the rosebud, a delicate flower not meant to be roughly opened, but gently as one might open a special gift. To open a rosebud is to discover the wonders of the universe enveloped in soft petals, an experience not granted to many. Now, if you like, here in this room we have the famous glass bottle boat tour. For a slight extra fee, you can travel further into this cave of wonders and admire the albino fish that swim in its waters. Or see them served a la carte at the Aubergine restaurant at the Grand Coquetier Hotel. Just kidding. We don't eat these fish. They are endangered. Tough little buggers to catch. Here is the exit right. Good news, we all made it out without losing anyone. I think. Here in the caverns, we won't make you walk back to the surface. Please carefully board our funicular for a slow ascent to ground level, where you will exit through the gift shop. Feel free to purchase a memento of your visit to the cavern. All proceeds go to maintaining the integrity of the cave and cleaning up any bodies that might have been left behind. Thank you for visiting Rose Lake Caverns, and have a wonderful rest of the day at Rose Lake Park. As the major always says, a day at Rose Lake is heaven. Unless my show is sold out, then it's heaven.
All right, guys, so at the end of the tour, we come down here, you see the last few formations here. And then in this final room, it's the largest chamber. So you've got the exit off to the right, and you have the boat tour off to the left. And we decided there's a cave in Tennessee, I believe it's called the Lost Sea. And it's a cave that has a underground lake with fish, and you can take a boat tour on the lake. So that was kind of the inspiration for this. And so Matt made us these incredible, highly detailed, really cool glass bottom boats for this subterranean lake that we have at the bottom of our cave system. And so I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the boats. So take it away, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't based on anything specific, but you know, we knew we wanted glass bottom boats. We knew they needed to be kind of relatively small to navigate the cave. And I think I just have memories. There was a place, I think it was called King Arthur's Labyrinth in Wales, that I went to as a kid, and that had just a short section of the cave tour where it was flooded that they took boats. And I remember something kind of similar to this, probably a bit thinner because it didn't have the glass bottom in it. But I think that's kind of where the idea came from for the sort of the style of it. But obviously we wanted the glass bottom so we could see the fish So there is glass in the center, and you can see through there sort of some of the formations underneath. And yeah, usual thing. I've put in more details than I probably needed to. But there's the rudders, the propellers, and the lights at the front there, all the railings around. So they're fairly detailed. And then they dock kind of. You go in forwards and you climb up and down the steps at the front of the boat to get in and out, as with that one that's docked there. And then there's another one further in the cave as well, isn't there? So there's
Yes. Go take a look at that one.
you can see some of the cave fish swimming around. So yeah, the idea they just they sail around on this little lake and just give people a different view of the cave. I think this one, if you catch it at the right moment, you can see the fish. Yeah, there you go, swimming past underneath as well, which is what everyone's paid their money to see.
That's right. And if you read the plaque up in the gift shop about the fish, you'll see the funny story about the fish. When I was a kid, there was a natural spring in San Marcos, Texas, where the same city where that cave is that I was inspired by, called Aquarina Springs, and they had a glass bottom boat tour just over the springs. And I was terrified of the glass at the bottom of the boat because I thought if the glass broke, the boat would sink. And so I was always afraid my brothers would scare me. They were saying they were going to drop a rock on the glass and sink the boat. That did not make my parents very happy. I would pay extra to ride the boat in this cave. Most definitely. Very creepy, but fascinating. All right, so you've got the cave exit here. So we walked a long way down to get here. It was like 15 stories or something like that, I seem to recall. It's pretty far. So that would be an awful long distance to make people walk back up. So we were inspired by another cave at a theme park in Branson, Missouri, Silver Dollar City, called Marble Cave. And what they have at the end of their cave tour is a funicular railway that starts underground, and then theirs actually comes up. It's partially underground and then partially above ground. But ours stays underground. So I'm going to let Matt talk about this a little bit. So Matt, would you like to talk about your funicular that you built for us here?
Yes, this is another thing that I built. I think the cars in the end were based around some images that we were sharing amongst ourselves of I think it's Nero Bergbahn, which is in Wiesbaden in Germany, and that's kind of where the rough kind of styling of the cars comes from, and that's also where they've got a kind of open platform at the top end of the cars with a sort of an operator, a brakeman sat on it, and that's where that came from. The idea of having that open bit on the end as well. Came from that German funicular. There's sort of three main compartments that the guests sit in, and they're kind of staggered down. Obviously, the whole thing's on a slope, so there you go. You can see where the guests would sit to go back up, and so it's those three main compartments, and then you sort of operate a brakeman at the front, just keeping an eye on things, keeping everyone safe. There's the track work as well. Obviously, they're on a cable that would pull them up and down, and so I put in all the runners for the cables up, and there's this in the center. There's this sort of set of points and a passing loop, and it is obviously it's in the dead center. So as one goes up, the other one comes down, and they're attached to the different ends of the same cable. So it all kind of happens at exactly the same time, and they pass in the middle, and then they come out back up here on the sort of stepped platform at the back of the gift shop. And I also built sort of the controls and the mechanism to run it all, and that's I looked up how these mechanisms work and sort of how the cables run around various different pulleys and things to actually make the mechanism work, and tried to copy that as accurately as I could. I found a couple of good diagrams of how that actually works, and tried to copy that at the top there. So we've got the mechanism, and your kind of your main operator stood there operating it all. Like I say, they swap positions. It's the same cable, and it goes around a series of pulleys, and as it goes one way, one goes up, one goes down, and then it goes the other way. And yeah, there's quite a few details in there as well. There's all the lights in them, and the brakemen have got some reading material, and there's a little brake handle for them there.
What's he reading?
What's that?
He's reading History of Planet Coaster. Very cool.
Which is impressive, as it wouldn't have. I mean, it's quite a few years before it existed at this point. So
yeah, it's a time traveler. I was looking at this the other day. I think we were actually in voice chat together, and I couldn't believe all the detail that you put into this thing. But I mean, it's like the main little flywheel or whatever has brakes on it and everything. And there's a working lever and everything. That it's just crazy. And then if you go under the cars themselves, I mean, you've got one car is connected to one cable, and then the other cable goes all the way down and is actually connected to the other car. And so the little connector thing is actually offset on the other car. I mean, it's just crazy how much detail you put into this thing.
Yeah, I tried to get as accurate as I could to the real thing, and obviously that would be a thing on a real one as well. The cables run kind of offset to each other, so one is attached to one end, one's attached to the other end, and they kind of pass in the middle. So I tried to follow all the detail from the real thing as well.
So then when the tourists, the cave tourists, whatever you call them, cave tourists would come off the funicular, then they would come up here through the gift shop. So when we were building this thing, we were thinking, how can we make this actually work so that peeps, actually use this as a real ride? So they actually go down into the cave and come back up to the top through the gift shop. And so what we came up with, the cave tour is actually a queue line, and the queue line runs parallel to the funicular. So it actually comes all the way, so you go underground here. The queue line runs parallel to the funicular, so peeps actually walk all the way up this little ramp from the very bottom of the cave, and they come all the way up here, and they ride a dark ride that is hidden inside the Odeon theater in the back. That's actually a very popular ride, and so there's always a huge crowd of people that want to ride it, and then they exit out this little hidden path that takes them right into the gift shop. And so they literally do exit through the gift shop into the Cavern's gift shop. So we actually did make it work. And so when you open the park to peeps, as long as you open that little dark ride, the peeps will go through the cave tour and enjoy themselves.
It's just a fantastic piece of work. It still amazes me how much you managed to cram into the cave tour, all built underground there, and then get it all to connect back on itself. And peeps use it. It's quite an achievement.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to get it to work.
Now they know why it took us a year to release this map.
Well, that and COVID. But yeah.
Then looking at the number of vehicles Matt had to build, you're like, well, that's a year right there. That's another 2 months.
Here's another one of his rubbish trucks back here in the back.
Yeah, and there's a worker picking up one of the bags out the back as well.
Yep.
Getting ready to load it up.
But just kind of behind the scenes. So you've got the gift shop, and then this is sort of the little pre-show room here where the tour begins. And then the funicular station is here. You can kind of see the top of the vehicle sticking up. And then this little annex we built behind the ice cream parlor is where the little pathways are hidden to take people over to the back of the theater where they ride the little fake ride. So it all sort of fits. And then this is the little backstage area that we had from before. I think we only lost one backstage building in the process of adding all of that. So it worked out pretty well.
There was a road back there the last time I was working on this park.
Oh, yeah?
Well,
Oh,
we,
the road to the hotel. Yeah.
Oh, is the road still there?
it's still there. Yeah.
It kind of just cuts through here. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to end it here, guys. And we're going to try to not make it a whole year until the next update. We've started building stuff for the 1940s map. We'll have some stuff to be, plug in to the new map here soon. So we'll get going on that. And then hopefully it won't be too much longer. Summer's almost over, but, hopefully we'll get some things built here as summer ends up, and we'll keep working on things on the weekends for you guys. But just a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe the videos so you can keep up with the project. Don't forget that we have a blog. I'm going to put links to everything in the description of the video. The 1939 map will be coming out very shortly. I'll put a link to it also in the description of the video. We just need to package up all of the billboard images and the audio files for you guys so you'll have everything you need to open the park successfully. Be patient, guys. It's a big file. There are a lot of billboard images. There are a lot of audio files. There's a lot of TMTK. It takes a long time for the game to load all the TMTK when you first open the park file. What I suggest doing, we have a list that's a partial list of some of the items that we have from TMTK in the park. I'm going to try to keep updating that list. If you actually go through and subscribe to a bunch of those things before you try opening the park, it's going to make it take a lot less time to open the park. So we've had some feedback from some people that did that, where they actually subscribed to the items first before they opened the park, and they were able to open the park file much more quickly that way. So just a little tip there for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and sign off so you guys can download the park and enjoy it yourselves. But we've had a great time showing off the 1939 map to you guys. So I am Fisherman, and I'm going to let the other guys say goodbye to you.
This is JP. See you next year.
This is MattDownes, and yeah, I'll see you next year too.
And this is Wolf Tenor, and I'll see you before that because, I'm an actor and I'm going to be on stage, so you're going to see me, whether you want to or not. That's how this works.
Let's be optimistic, guys. All right. All right. We're signing off, guys, and we'll see you next time.